This episode is brought to you by Indie Film Hustle Academy, where filmmakers and screenwriters go to learn from top Hollywood industry professionals. Learn more at ifhacademy.com. Your second film was The Hand, which was with Michael Caine, and it was a horror film. And I always found it interesting that you started your career as a director with two genre films, essentially horror movies. Can you tell me how The Hand came around?
Well, The Hand is very similar to The Hand's an interesting movie. It's going to be actually re-released by Shout Factory next year on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
It was buried at the time. I liked the movie. I saw it recently, and it's very interesting psychological thriller based on a book I bought by Mark Brandel called The Lizard's Tale. But it was very similar to Seizure because it's a similar story in that the main character, Jonathan Frid in the first one, Michael Caine in the second one, are haunted people. Haunted in the sense that they bring, with their minds, they bring the doom onto themselves. They think the horror. They think the horror. And in the case of The Hand, he thinks his wife is leaving him, and he becomes insanely jealous. And he sees everything as that he loses his hand in a car accident. He sees it partly as her fault. He sees the hand ultimately as a weapon of vengeance, a weapon of anger, to get back at the people who took his hand as well as his wife. So it's pretty far out and very ambitious visually as a first movie. Very difficult to make a small hand work as a shark might. And I was crazy to do it, but that was it was difficult for me. Prior to The Hand, you forgot that I came through as a screenwriter in 1977-8 with Midnight Express,
which was my next question.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Midnight Express actually was. Do you consider Midnight Express to be the project that really launched your career?
Yeah. I mean, it got me into the Hollywood side of the business. I was in New York. I was dead in the water. I tried. To get all these rejections. I mean, I got hundreds of letters. It's no fun.
Right.
I mean, begging for things, getting small jobs, a production assistant here and there, TV work. I worked for almost a year, well paid, in an advertising film company for baseball films. I mean, I'm trying to make it happen. My wife, thank God, was working at the UN and had a steady job. So that was, we made ends meet. And I have to say, I almost gave up hope many times. By the time I reached 30 years old, I talk about it in the book. Mm-hmm. At 30 years old, and you feel like, in those days, you feel like you had to have started your career. If not, something was wrong. And I felt like I had failed in my life, and I go into that and why. And my father, my mother, my grandmother, all this comes into play. So that's why I ended the film with Platoon, because when I ultimately realized my dream, which was to have a success of international proportions that are unbelievable. I mean, every country in the world it played, made big money, number 3 in America domestically. And then on top of it, Academy Awards. And then it wins. Elizabeth Taylor's out there on the stage giving me a big kiss. She was the movie star of my youth as a woman. She was the most glamorous. So, this was all unbelievable. But I had been, so it was a golden time. And that's why I wanted to end the book, because the dream had been achieved, and I showed you how it was achieved and how much work was required, how much rejection. And I think it'd be very helpful to young people, I thought, to see the path that we had, or I had, in the 1970s. It's different now because, in many ways, it's a different system, because now it's a lot technically easier to make a film. You don't have to kill yourself. It's much easier to turn out quality with the video camera, and it's up to you. It's much more inventive medium, and techniques are much, much easier. However, you have the consequent problem that if everybody's doing it, you have a huge volume and a limited distribution system.
Right, exactly. It's a lot easier to make the movie now. The place you have to kill yourself is to actually get anyone to see it or sell it.
Exactly. I've seen so many young filmmakers have sent me stuff. I have piles of films that nobody watches. It's really, and there's some talent here, some talent there. Talent's been, I've championed many films that have filmmakers that have gotten some distribution, but it never worked out. I mean, they died off in the end. Very hard to get through this barrier of distribution and publicity.